Welcome to the No Psych, No Excuses podcast, where we have real, raw, authentic conversation. Here's your host, Kijuan Amey. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the No Psych, No Excuses podcast. Guys, we are back for episode number two. I just do like silly things like that. I just love being me. I gotta be me because y'all love me. I love me. So let's love me together. Anyway, today's episode is about answering the call. I know y'all like, wait, he gonna answer his phone in this? No, that's not what I mean in the podcast. I will tell you exactly what I mean by that in just 1 second. So, guys, real quick, um, you know, a lot of people talk about how, and if you don't know me, you're about to understand where I'm going with this. Kiwan, you do a lot of things, and it makes me forget that you're blind. Things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I get that. A lot, to be honest. I did not realize I would get it so often, but it's because of like, muscle memory, things that you just remember off of just what you do and how fluid I am with doing it. That's my mindset. But the one thing that I always say is I might have lost my sight, but I didn't lose my vision. My vision was always to help others. And so when it came to this day on answering the call, I didn't realize somebody would be helping me. What am I getting at? Guys, remember, there's sometimes that person, I don't care, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be just a coworker, and you just do not feel like answering the call. He's like, I just got off the phone with this person. What do they want now? And I mean, hear me clearly. I've had these days. And that's where this whole segment came from, guys. The whole podcast episode came from was me not wanting to answer the call. Yes, I didn't want to answer the call. But what I didn't know what was on the other end of that call. The other end of this call actually would present me a blessing. Yes, guys, because I didn't want to answer the call. Guess what would have happened if I didn't answer the call? I would have missed out on my blessing. I would have missed out on a blessing, guys. Think about that. Because you were in the way. Because you were in the way of not wanting to answer a call, not wanting to respond to a text, not wanting to show up for some event that somebody invited you to, and it could have just, the networking event could have got you something you never thought you would have ever get. That's what happened for me on this call. Let me give you a little backstory on it. So it's here July 4th, actually, of this year, 2025, and I receive a phone call. I'm thinking about grilling. I'm thinking about what's going to be for dinner. What we cooking? Y'all know how it is on 4th of July. You want to eat if you're in America. So uh, that's all I'm thinking about. What are we eating? Who's coming over? What's gonna happen later on today? What time is everything transpiring? I'm not thinking about this phone call because I didn't have nothing on my calendar to receive a phone call today. You know, especially not one of this stature. So when when I get the phone call, I listen to the whose name it was. I said, what? I know. Okay, I know. I just talked to her yesterday. Now, what could she possibly want? Because you know how it is. We go in the straight trying to process the phone call before we even answer it. What could she possibly want so that I can already have an answer in mind for what he or she gonna say? In this case, it was a she. So that's why I keep saying she. Anyway, I stopped processing and I just hit answer. Okay? I answered the call. Lo and behold, she would be saying, Kiwan, I have someone I want to meet. I want you to meet. Yes, she has an accent, and I love accents, by the way. So, I have someone I want you to meet. Is it okay? Do you have time? And I'm like, yeah, I got some time. Who is it? First off, and she was like, oh, his name is Easy. Is what it sounded like. She said Easy because she has an island accent, and so its name was Izzy. Izzy, Izzy, Izzy. And so my thing was, I was like, well, who is he? Like your son or somebody? What you want me? Who you want me to talk? You want me to talk to, man? I know I'm a motivational speaker. I do the mentoring thing, but where you going with this? And she's like, hold on one second, hold on. And so next time I'm just, holding the weight music. And she comes back on the line. And she says, hey, Kijuan, you still there? I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here. She says, Izzy, are you there? He's like, yeah, I'm here. And I'm like, well, hey, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. And we have a phone conversation. Not realizing that this phone conversation is going to lead to him now being an employee of mine and I being a client of his in a sense. So it's kind of like vice versa. We was using each other in gaining friendship, but also employment. So he gained employment for me and I gained services from him and what he did for me. Like this podcast y'all are listening to me on right now. He's the one behind all the editing, all the good stuff that you're seeing, the things that flash across the screen. Oh, he is that guy. And so I just want people to understand when I was looking for somebody to do this and do it well, might I add, because he does, I couldn't find him. And then one time I had somebody, and I told him this story. I had somebody, and they were taking the same amount of money and doing nowhere near as much work as he's doing. Nowhere near it. And giving me every excuse why they couldn't. Now, remember, y'all know the episode or the name of this podcast is No Sight, No Excuses. I don't want to hear all these excuses you got. Find out how to get it done. I'm paying you. You wouldn't show up to your 9 to 5 and say, oh, well, I couldn't get it done today because I had a daughter. I had a son that was just on my lap all day. What? I don't want to hear that. You are working and getting paid. This is not free. This is not a handout. You're like doing it out of your kind heart. No, I'm giving you literally money that I'm making, and I could be either keeping or giving to somebody else, like I'm doing now. So when I tell y'all that answering the call is something that might have seemed like I didn't want to do it at first, because I didn't. Honestly, God knows I didn't. But I did, and I'm glad I did, because again, it's now benefiting me. The phone call is benefiting me. And it was so funny because I use that analogy for a lot of things. Let's think about this. So I used to play sports, right? All right, hold on. I'm getting somewhere. Hold on. And we might be speeding ahead here just a little bit, but when I played sports in football, whether it was that football, running track, or whatever it was, when I played sports, I had a job. So when I played football, my coach always said, do your 1-11. What does that mean? If you are the quarterback, that is your 1 out of 11 that is on the field. If you are the running back, that is your 1 out of 11 on the field. Okay? That's what he means by that. And so when you're doing your 1-11, that's answering the call, because that call might be coming out of the huddle and they're calling a run play for you, or the pass is coming your way and you either need to catch it for the first down or the touchdown. We might need you right here. But it could be something just as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a simple phone call or text message. It could even be your job needs you to come up big. You're a project manager. They need you to come up big on this project. And you got to find the right worker to do it for you. Man, you never know. You never know where you're going to go with this, where it's going to come from, which way it's going to come. But the thing is, if you don't answer the call, it's not going to come. All right, guys, we're back. So y'all know we're getting into the segment where we talk about the 3 E's: excuse, execute, and elevate. Guys, y'all know how I feel about them excuses, man. Hey, it's like everybody has one. Y'all know what that saying goes. Everybody has them, but don't nobody care. Get them on out of here. We got to figure ways around it. So these excuses that we come up with for not answering a call, for not wanting to step up to the plate, because that's how I feel about certain answering calls, and like the analogy I gave you guys for the football, the sports, that's not stepping up to the plate. When somebody calls your number, you got to step up, and even when it came to me answering that call, I had to step up. And I had to say, well, what's holding me back from answering this call? I was laying in the bed. So that would have been an excuse. I wasn't doing nothing but laying in the bed thinking about how good that food was going to taste. That's it. Won't doing nothing. And so, we have to not create excuses for ourselves. I don't even want to use the word make. We got to stop creating excuses because we're the ones who create them. We do, yes, have some that are out here in the world, but there are ways to navigate around them. And when you self-create, that's even worse. So we could get around that, and then we have to move into our elevation. Excuse me, our execution phase. The execution is where once you get past that excuse, once you say, I'm not creating an excuse, I'm going to execute. The execute for me was pressing that answer button. I answered the call. And once I answered the call and I was able to get on the phone call with said person to now be introduced to Izzy, that right there was what I was looking for. It was a call that I didn't know I needed. It was a call that I had no intentions on even having. Like I said, I had nothing planned for that day except eating. That's it. I did not know she was going to call me that day. Like I told you, I had just talked to her the day before. And so once I get this phone call and the information that came from it, the sure response out of this whole situation, the whole scenario, of course I'm grateful for it. Once I understood what this young man could do and the heights he could take me to, oh, y'all already know I'm going with now on this last E. We were elevating then. He was helping me elevate. I'm gonna help him elevate because everybody's gonna see the work that he can do, and then they're gonna go after. He's gonna be a sought after person. So we're helping each other elevate. See, when you can not only elevate yourself but help others along the way, man, now you're cooking. Now you're really cooking. Okay. So that's what it's really all about when it comes to the three E's. That's just a small sample size of what I could give you, and then moving forward, guys, we just gotta understand that with these three E's, there are gonna be some things that kind of trip you up. But when you get tripped up, hey, we gotta stay prepared. We have to. I don't care what's coming your way. You gotta stay prepared. I've always heard them say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And why do they say that? If I'm always waiting on the next thing to show up, guess what? I could be behind versus being ahead and on top of things. I'm now behind the curveball, is what they used to say. I always heard. Being behind, man, I don't know who that ever helped. Usually innovators are ahead of time. That's how they make the real money because they're ahead of the curve, and the thing is, guys, when you're ahead of the game, you're not behind. It's one thing because I know I did speak on anxiety once in my past, but you have to stay somewhat prepared. It doesn't have to be light years ahead, but you got to at least know what you're doing tomorrow. You can at least know what you're doing next week, and so there are a lot of different ways of staying prepared. For me personally, I use different assistive technologies, such as the Alexas, the Series, the Google Homes, all these different devices. They're there for your use. They're ready for your beckoning call, literally. And so use it to your advantage. Use it, man. It's there for you. And so that's what I would add if I had to give you guys something to just chew on when it comes to those three E's. Guys, here we are in the next segment, the tool of the week. So here we are, tool of the week. What I want to get y'all to see here in the tool of the week is what you could miss out on. Okay, I personally, just recently actually, um, was really having a hard time with trying to find another speaker coach. I am a resilient speaker professionally. I have done certifications, I have all this stuff, but you're never done. Okay. You always need either a mentor or somebody in your corner just to keep pushing you along and giving you the trends that are really vibing right now. Because again, if you're behind, it's not going to help. Everybody else that's actually keeping up in the game, they're going to keep getting all the bookings and be getting seen as well. So, what am I getting at? Um, I just recently hired me a speaking coach, another one, shall I say? And why did I do this? Because not because I'm not a good speaker. That's not the reason. It's because I want to be a better speaker. I want to be a sought after speaker. I want to learn the tips, the tricks, and the trades of the speaking industry that I don't know. See, that's why we do things like that. You pay for things to get better. You get a degree to get better at something. And so we all went to grade school, just in case you didn't go to college. We went through grade school to get better for the next grade. You learned what you had to learn in third grade to get promoted to fourth grade to get promoted to fifth, and so on and so forth. So with that, guys, we have to understand, like, even, geez, just like, I think it was last week, man, me talking to him, I was like, dude, you know stuff that I do not know. And I didn't know that it didn't exist because you don't know what you don't know. That's why that phrase is there. We really don't. So why not, give out? No, I say give out, but shell out a few dollars. If it's gonna come back in multiple form, why not shell out a few dollars now? If it's going to help my life and help me invest in my life, why not do it now? Because the longer you wait, the more you procrastinate, the least it's going to help you. And so that's why we have to continue to not just develop, but to see what's better for us as investing in our own lives. Because I do that, and I think you should too. So that's the final segment. I know. I hate to see you guys go too, but it's okay. This is not the last episode, just the final segment of this one. So let's get into the no excuse zone. Y'all know how I feel about them excuses. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. So, hey, no excuse zone. Wrapping it up, guys. Remember, just answer the call. You know you didn't want to, but I get it. You never know what's on the other end of that call, whether it's a legitimate phone call, a text message that you weren't expecting, a call for sports, whatever, coworker you have work. Maybe after you did some work at work, you got promoted. And you didn't know that promotion was even on the table yet, but you got it. So answer that call. Remember, guys, with the faith, we have to faith it until we make it. Believe, keep believing that you will receive, okay? If you keep believing that you'll receive, I promise it'll come. Just think it's not on your timing, it's on God's timing because we serve an on time God. That's what I believe, and I hope that's what you believe. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is with that believing phase, you have to also be obedient to what you believe. I can't just say I believe in this and then I'm going and doing all the craziness that the world does because it also says don't be of this world. You can be in the world, but don't be of the world. Okay. Now, what I will also say is obedience is better than sacrifice. Okay, guys. And I know y'all know where that's coming from. So we want to be obedient so that we are not the sacrifice. That's what I'm getting at here. You want to be obedient so that you are not the sacrifice because that'll put you on the back burner. You don't want that. You'll never get that promotion. You'll never get that call. You'll never get called on when it comes to the final play of the game or the drive. You never know. But we want to make sure positively, absolutely, that we are being obedient and that we're doing our absolute best. I'm not saying you have to be perfect because no one walking this earth's surface is. I don't care what they say. But I will say that be your best. And guys, it's been real. So this has been the No Sight, No Excuses podcast. All I want y'all to remember is just because you can't see it doesn't mean you can't achieve it. Later, guys.